Last month, the 11th Annual Commissioners Recognitions Award were presented by Florida Commissioner of Education Frank Brogan. Rosewood Elementary School and the Community Church here in Vero Beach were recognized as one of the top 3 winners for their commitment to improving students' academic performance. And here to tell us about Rosewood's Panther Partners program are Carolyn Bayless, that's a lot of words to say, of Rosewood Elementary, and Tom Rhodes, a Rosewood mentor. And welcome to Notebook, both of you.
Thank you.
And congratulations, I guess I should say first. I know that it's been a very successful program at Rosewood.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. So Carolyn, if you would tell us a little bit about the specifics of the Rosewood Panther Partners and how long has it been in existence?
Okay. All right, we just completed our 3rd year of our program. We started actually almost 4 years ago talking about having some kind of a program similar to this. On our school improvement team about 4 years ago, we were discussing how we had some students who seemed to need more one-on-one than the classroom teachers were really able to give them. And we brought up the fact that it would sure be nice if we could find some people to mentor. So that went in the plan, and we didn't really have a group at that time. Then I understood that there was a group at our church that was looking into kind of as a missions project, going and working in the schools. And actually Rosie Livings was the one who connected Rosewood with Rolf Bebo, who was the one who started it. And we spent about 6 to 7 months in preparation to get started for the program. And as I said, we just finished, yesterday was our concluding activity for our 3rd year. And we're already making plans for next year. We're recruiting new people and getting evaluation so we can improve our program as we go along.
Okay. Well, now how do students qualify to be in this umbrella program, and how do mentors then qualify to be matched with them?
Okay. The first year, we asked the classroom teachers if they would recommend a child that they had in their class who they felt could benefit from an extra one-on-one. And so we got it mainly from the classroom teachers. Then as the program has gone along and the children, being a Panther Partner is really special at Rosewood, now I have parents and children asking us if they can participate in the program. And we're really open you know, to all children, as many as that we can match up with the mentor.
Okay. And then the mentors, how do they qualify per se?
The mentors fill out an application, and then they're grilled to the 3rd degree, right? Actually, what we do is we bring them in one-on-one or in a small group, and Marcia Young is my coordinator from the church, and we just sit down and talk about the experiences that the mentors had and what they would like to be able to do with the children. And because I work at Rosewood and I know the children personally, I try to kind of look at personalities of the mentors and the children, and have been pretty successful with matching those up, right?
Now, I know it's really sponsored by the community church.
Yes.
Do you have mentors that participate in the Panther Partners that are not members
absolutely.
of it? So it's not just, they're just the organizing group?
Yes, they were just the organizing group. Now we have quite a few people who, say, live in a condo with someone who had already been a mentor, or word of mouth. We've gotten a lot of publicity lately about it in the newspaper. And in fact, the minister of the church next door to Rosewood is on our school improvement team, and he was asking that he was having a group of people that might be interested, and we're certainly you know, open to anyone in the community who would like to work with children.
Okay. Well, now, Tom, is this your 3rd year?
This is my 3rd year, yes.
Since the beginning?
Since the beginning, right.
Okay. What drew you to being a mentor for an elementary school child, and maybe some of your background? I don't know if your background's in teaching at all, or
I think probably a sense of obligation more than anything else. I've been a member of the community church since 1955, I believe. And I've taught Sunday school there in the church school program off and on for about 40 years. So I'm in the fruit business. I don't have any formal background in education, never have had. But to me, it's just more or less a matter of looking out there and seeing seeing that the need is there. If you open your eyes at all, read the newspaper, you have to know very clearly that, there are a lot of kids out there that don't have what to us is called a normal experience of life.
Now, I know it's a mentoring, not necessarily a teaching. I mean, it's not a tutoring situation where you're expected to actually be able to teach the children the skills to read, but you do work with the teacher so that you can understand maybe a different way of approaching them? Is that?
I haven't really personally worked with the teacher very much. If they have problems on, some of their studies, be it English or math or history or whatever, we do work with them to some extent, but it's more really a question of trying to establish a personal one-on-one relationship with the child, showing an interest. And sometimes it's academic, sometimes you just read a book together, help them write something, sometimes you play games or checkers or whatever it may be, but it's more a personal relationship between you and the student.
How often do you work with your student? And I'm assuming you have the same student every time.
Same student every year, once a week. It's Wednesday afternoon for an hour and a half.
Well, that's a good chunk of time to be sitting there with that student. And do you find that after a while that at first maybe they might hesitate a little bit, but after a while, as soon as they walk in that door, they're talking to you and they're identifying with you? Do you find that that's the
generally
way it
is the way it works, yes.
And do you have anything to do with what child that is you're matched with?
No.
No, okay.
Carolyn does that.
Okay.
I have no choice. I guess if you get to a point where you have a child for a week or two and there's some basic incompatibility, that that can be that can be changed. Unfortunately, in my case, it hasn't happened, but
okay,
they're pretty much assigned to you.
All right.
Yeah. Basically, what we try to do in the interview time is find out if one of the mentors has a particular grade level or age group. Some are really more attuned to younger children, some really more like the intermediate children.
Right.
And even I've had some who particularly said they wished a boy or a girl.
Right.
So that that's taken into consideration.
Okay.
But so many of our children do not have a good male figure in their home, and so the men mentors are really ones that I especially look at to make a special match.
Right. Well, now, do they work with the teachers to coordinate with the curriculum that's going on at the time? Or like you mentioned, it's not really a curriculum
Not
program,
necessarily.
It's a partnership.
We've kind of differentiated a little bit at our school between tutoring and mentoring. Tutoring generally is a specific academic area that you're working on, and that's where the classroom teacher really is quite heavily involved. What we thought that we would like to do is the mentoring, which is a little different approach, and it's really the interpersonal relationship with another adult.
And shared interests.
And shared interests.
Right.
So what we've done is the children, many of them will come on that Wednesday afternoon and they'll bring their homework, or they'll have a project, for instance, in their particular subject area. Maybe one of the things that we're doing at Rosewood in the new core knowledge, history, science, and so on. And many times the mentors are ones who help them. They might go to the library, look things up. Tom and his child just made a really neat project to go along with the 5th grade. In fact, the teacher was so excited, I think she asked to keep it.
She's welcome to have it.
They made a relief map. The 5th grade was studying the Civil War.
Right.
So Tom and his boy got together and
we made a relief map of the southeastern United States where all the Civil War battles took place. And
from Shiloh to...
Yep, from Gettysburg down to Mobile Bay, and painted it and put little flags for the battlefields. It was a neat project, really.
I bet. Sounds like a lot of fun. Plus, again, you're weaving in the history and also then the English and the research part. And speaking of the core knowledge, is that going to have, because it will be a little different, will that have any impact in your program at all?
I don't think so. Actually, I think it's going to give the mentors and the children even more content to work with.
I think you're right. Particularly projects like that.
Right. And we have a lot of our mentors are people who have traveled extensively. We have a lot of people people with a lot of experiences, and the core knowledge really has a lot to do with
Yes.
traveling and countries and things. And another thing I'd like to really do next year is have the mentors really sharing more of those kind of experiences, personal experiences,
sure, and enrichment,
and
type
enrichment
of
kind of thing, because sometimes we have to kind of drag it out of them. Each year we've done one project. The first year we had the mentors do a hobby day, and we asked them to bring in some of the things that they were interested in. This year we did a travel day, and we asked the mentors to pick a place that they had traveled and to share that with the students if they had maps, pictures, and so on.
And this is with your whole student body, not just the mentored part.
Well, we did it with the mentoring, but what happened is some of the teachers came by because of this lovely little fair was going on, and some of them did talk some of the mentors into coming and doing things, you know, in their classroom also.
That's really neat.
And when we did the Civil War, it was really neat. We had all the 5th grade kids dressed up in Civil War costumes.
Costume, yes. We were lucky enough to be there that day.
And the
One of those
mentors,
days.
Many of the mentors helped get the costumes together. One of them, Paige Sturgis, even helped sew a dress for Mary Todd Lincoln, and
Oh, that was a beautiful dress. I saw that.
and
wow.
we had a lot of them who came in and helped out on that particular day. So we're getting more and more of the mentors, you know, participating in that
great.
way.
Well, now I'm sure that you have a mission statement and you have a vision and that kind of thing. Do you have really a goal in mind, not for each individual child, but in general, a goal for the Panther Partners program?
Really, our goal is to, you know, to help fill a need of any child that we feel could really benefit from a special adult relationship, because research is really showing, if you read anything nowadays, what an impact one more adult in a child's life can make. And that's what we're trying to do, you know, have, you know, the adults have that one particular relationship that's going to sustain that child through difficult times and maybe many years.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, Tom, I mean, what do you get out of it? I mean, we know we've listened to what the students get out of that kind of a mentoring program, but besides obviously walking away with a good feeling and hopefully, you know, the child's not having difficulty, but what's in it for you and your peers?
Nothing. I mean, nothing's in it for me, really. I
meant like, what do you get out of it?
I get some sense of satisfaction out of doing it, but I don't really look at it too much in those terms. I mean, there are days when I don't really feel like going. You know, I'm busy and all the rest of it. Other things are kind of pushing in on you, and you'd really rather do something else. But it's one thing about it is that if you commit yourself to it, and the child expects you to be there, you know, you're going to be there, so you are geared into that, you know, into that commitment.
Sure, and I think the student probably understands at the time of the year, particularly in the wintertime when you're more busy than other times, that they know you're there, and that is a lesson in commitment to them.
Yeah,
by your actions.
perhaps. I'm not sure that they go quite that far, but the thing is, one thing that keeps you going is that you realize you don't have to do very much
to make a big difference.
To make a big difference. Of course, you never really know how much difference you're making. You know, you don't get some.
You don't have a Richter scale on.
You don't have a Richter scale. You don't have some hangdog child that comes in October and they walk out
They
bouncing
skip out.
and whistling in April. You know, it just doesn't happen that way. But you know that, you know, from things they say and from your observations of other children that it's very little that you have to do to make a difference.
Right.
Well, I told Tom after the first time he had a student at the beginning of the year who moved away. And so I asked him if he would take on another student, and he said yes, he would. And I arranged someone, and a little boy. And the very first day, the child met with Tom. As soon as it was over and he went home with his mom, the mom was on the telephone to me telling me how excited her child was at even that first time to have someone else show an interest in the child. You know, so that is pretty powerful.
That is. Is there a way? I mean, I know that Tom says there isn't really a way to measure success, but you're being around these children every day. Is there a way that you can measure that kind of intangible?
Several ways we've tried to, and as you say, it's very difficult to get data when you're trying to develop relationships. A couple of the things that we've looked at, some of the children had some attendance problems. A couple of years ago, the first year we started, we had a boy who was very irregular in attendance. And he was with us for 2 years, and I followed his attendance. Now, I'm sure there's other things that came involved too, but his attendance, I would say, dropped by, say, 3/4 of what it had been before he started the program. So I like to think, that he was feeling better about himself. I have had parents call me and tell me, how important it has been to them.
Well, you know that he's going to be there on Wednesday, and that's 25% right there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, he was never going to miss a Wednesday.
One of the things that I'm really excited about is, as the end of our 3rd year, we've had some mentors who've been with the same child. Unfortunately, Tom's had some child who's moved away, but some of our mentors have been 3 years with the same child. And they were, I think, a little hesitant to tell me that they wanted to go on with the child, even though the child was moving up to the middle school. And I take that as a great success part of our program. I mean, because what you want is the ongoing relationship. And when the mentors are willing to continue for the 4th year and perhaps even further through a difficult transition to another school, so there's really something between the student and the mentor.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the award that you received. And I mean, I was so thrilled when I learned of the fact that Rosewood was one of the top 3 in the state of Florida.
It was very exciting. We did
was.
not know, because I had been the year before. It's given at the Partners in Education Conference. It's given over in Orlando. And I had been the year before as a participant in the conference and had seen the people getting their awards. So when it came around time to nominate, then I decided I would nominate the community church for this. And did not realize at the time that we would be one of the 2 winners. McDonald's was also a winner from Indian River County.
Corrado, who does an excellent job also.
Wonderful. And so we went to this absolutely fantastic dinner over at the Coronado Springs Resort in Disney. And we were sitting there, and everyone received these lovely plaques, and we were very happy. We were having a dinner, and then Brogan got up and he's talking, and introducing everyone. And the year before, they had not done a top overall award, so we weren't really expecting this. And then they started, depending on the size of the group that you were working with, they had the small group, which was like businesses of 1 to 50 people. So they had the small group award, and then they had the size from 1 to 500. And then they had the large group. And it's kind of funny, when I told our minister when I came back that he probably did not realize that we were announced as having 1,700 employees.
I was just going to say, how do you mix a church into there? That's kind of difficult.
The partnership. But the minute they started with the first word, they took the blurb right out of the program. And since I wrote what was in there.
Can you hold that up maybe so the camera might be able to see it a little bit, what it says?
From the first word,
Business Recognition Awards, March 24th, 1920.
From the very first word, I knew that it was us, and I was just beside myself. It was so exciting. We won this beautiful trophy, which is really interesting because usually churches don't have trophy cases, or you don't receive those kind of things. And so
where will it sit? Is it at the school or the church?
Well, actually, we have the small one at school, and then the large one is in the church office. I'm not quite sure where it's going to be.
Did you have a special presentation at a church service?
Yes, we did. Dr. Deering was hoping to come, but something came up, and so Mark Dugan, as principal of Rosewood, really during the church service gave it to the congregation and to the minister. We'd had something a couple of weeks before where we had recognized our mentors. All the mentors got a little button, for thanking them, and a little bit of recognition there.
Right.
So we're trying very hard to, let our people know how much we do appreciate, what they do and how important it is.
How many mentors do you have?
Right now we have about 49 mentors on our roll. One of the reasons that we had stopped as of yesterday and not gone through the end of the school year is many of our people are seasonal people. And what happens is they start to go back after Easter. The first year we went all the way to the end of May, and it was getting to where there were so many children who didn't have a mentor. We decided that it's better to end when you can have most of your your people there.
Sure.
And then if the mentors wish to still come to school and have lunch with the child or do some kind of an activity with them, you know, they're welcome to. But the formal program really does starts in the 1st of October and goes to the end of April.
Well, and two, you're getting ready to go into final rounds of testing and all those kind of things that come up at the end of the year. So the students' attention will be taken up, and there will be other things they're involved in, you know, end of the year activities.
So we are recruiting new people for next year. You know, we'd be happy to have, you know, anyone who's interested in working with children. We do have them fill an application out.
But particularly men? I mean, does that
yes,
seem?
yes, that's one thing I would like to say, particularly men, because, you know, the women, God bless them, they're out there and they're doing what, you know, what good women do. They're mostly the grandmotherly type, but there are very few men in the program, and that's what of course, that's what a lot of these children lack, you know, as a man in the family.
Right. I wonder how we could, you know, maybe help you to get that message out. Do you go to like service clubs and where the men are, you know, to market to them? Is that something that you do? Or
no, I don't really think we've done that. But of course, in our church, we have a very large.
Of course, you have a large congregation too.
Very
a lot
large,
of men there.
Very large congregation.
And you really
a lot of
wanna
men.
Stick
they're
with that.
they're a captive audience.
Yes, they are.
And we still just don't get very many men, and I think they're afraid.
I think they probably are.
I think they're afraid that they're not going to be able to relate to a young child.
You have to get out of yourself, don't you? I mean, what do you feel like makes a good situation? I don't know if you can put it into words, but it's because it's probably an attribute that you have that you can't describe. I mean, if someone were to say to you, "Well, tell me what to do," what do I do?
The main thing is that I think if you go in there with the idea of becoming a friend,
not trying to teach something, but to listen.
Not trying to teach something, but just be a friend to them. Lend them a sympathetic ear. Try and teach them something, because most of them, you know, need a little bit of help here and there. But mainly, it's a matter of friendship.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Like you say, it may be daunting to think that, my goodness, I'm going to have to help a child learn to read when I'm not so sure I can do that, and also have to get outside of myself and maybe be able to relate to someone I can't relate. Maybe it is frightening.
And there are a lot of things that men do that the women generally don't. You know, like we do little carpentry projects and, you know, little science projects, things of that nature. Not that women can't do them.
No, but a little more the manipulative.
They normally don't, and they're more attuned to what boys, you know, would like.
Are there any citrus groves around Rosewood Elementary? Citrus trees? I mean, with your background, you could go out and talk about the trees and how if they're in bud or they're not in bud, and you know, those kind of things.
There really aren't, other than trees in someone's backyard. Plus the fact that the program is limited to the Rosewood campus.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We
If
really
it's right
can't.
there on the campus.
I don't think there's
any trees like there used to be.
Yeah.
Years ago, I went to school there the first year it was open. So
one of the things that we've really tried to do is to keep the program as safe for the adults and the children as we can, and that's why we've limited it to Rosewood.
Oh, certainly.
Wednesday afternoon with the modified calendar.
Right.
It's really worked out nicely, because 1:30 to 3 is really still a good time for everyone. But what we've done, if some of the mentors wish to do things on the weekends or other times with their child, we have encouraged them to go through the youth guidance program and to sign up. That way they are protected, the children and families are protected, and we've had quite a number who have decided to do that.
So both of them register through youth guidance?
They register through youth guidance.
So they don't have to then be maybe matched with someone else when really their purpose was to work with that same child.
Yes. And so we have several people who've done that who were not a part of youth guidance or Big Brothers and Big Sisters before, and several of those have been husband and wives who have done that together.
Oh, that's really great.
So I think that's another way that we can measure some of our success also.
Yes. Well, again, congratulations on your award.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that gives a lot of recognition, I think, to not only Rosewood and your work, but also the community church and your congregation and the people who kept it going now for 3 years, and it's really grown. It seems to be. I remember a couple years ago when the numbers were in the 20s, not in the 30s.
We started
but it
in
was,
the 30s.
Yeah, and you've really grown.
But if anyone, you know, would be interested for next school year, They're welcome to call me at Rosewood Elementary, or they can call the community church office,
Right.
and we will certainly get them
That's
an
great,
application.
particularly men.
Particularly
Get those
men, yep.
men.
Yes,
Right,
that's-
not
Get
not
those-
to the detriment of women, but
Nope, get
No.
those men out.
get those men
Yeah.
out there.
Right.
Well, Mr. Rhodes, thank you for
Yeah.
your time here
Well,
today.
thank you for asking me.
And Carolyn, it's always a
Yes.
pleasure to have
Thank
you
you.
here, and I'm really looking forward
Appreciate
to next year's
Yeah.
beginning with the magnet
Good.
school, and it's going to be a really neat
We
curriculum.
have a lot of things going
a
for
lot
next
of things
year.
going for next year,
Right.
and those children are training to play Trivial Pursuit. I think that's just one of, one of those side benefits, because they'll know all those little things.
We'll challenge you sometime.
I would love that. I would
Okay.
love that. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Okay.
Thanks again. And thanks to all of our guests today that have been with us on Notebook. On our next week's programs, we're going to have the Education Foundation, who will be here to talk about their commitment to recognizing excellence in the classroom through the Award of Excellence program. And we're also going to have a special Notebook on location at the Environmental Learning Center. So please join us next week for our Notebook.